G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Draw with Jazza. I'm Jazza and this is the Let's Draw Live video where on Twitch I've taken your requests, you have voted, and the winner is Smaug, the dragon from the Hobbit. So, as you can see, I've done a bit of a preliminary sketch. I usually do these before my Let's Draws just to kind of get my mind around how we're going to do it, and sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes I rework it until it does work. So this is what I'm going to be going for with Smaug, that sort of an angle, and I'll have some mountains of coins behind him, and if I have room on the page, a bit of a chamber as well. So in getting started on my refined piece, I'm going to start by boxing in a funny sort of cube. Now Smaug has this interesting sort of narrow nose area and this large underbite. So I've departed from my blocking, but I've used it as the beginning foundation of how the shape will flow. And then as you see fit, you can break from that. So with a creature like this, we have lots of spikes going everywhere, but it's important to keep in mind that you can rework and reposition them as you go, add details as you go, but also feel free to remove them and structure things until they work. There's a specific look that Smaug has in the movies, and so I'm just trying to follow that, and I haven't been very true to it so far. There's a much larger lower jaw that I'm trying to replicate now, so I'm just going back and changing things a little bit to get a little bit closer to the look that they have in the movies. Now the main point of the gold piles and these perspective lines that will become a dwarven hall are to frame the Smaug character to really help accentuate and highlight the details. So there won't be too much detail in the background, but it's just to add an aesthetic and accentuate the style. So far we have Smaug taking up the center. Every time I say Smaug, I feel like an idiot. I've added a claw here to fill in a bit of that detail, and you can see he's sort of hugging a pile of gold. At the very front we have some close-up details of some treasures, just so we know that the rest of these piles are treasure and they have details, so we can kind of see a bit of that. We have a chalice, and then we also have the Arken Stone at the very bottom. And then at the very back, as the piles get smaller, we go into the darkness of a dwarven cavern. So this is going to take some time. My next step is to use my Copic multi-liners here and to go through the piece and do the line work. At this point I'm adding detail as I go, and I'm also keeping the edges and the lines quite rough because this will sort of simulate the very coarse texture of the dragon skin. And once I'm happy with the line work, I go through and erase all of the original pencil work that I'd done, so I just have my clean lines to work with, ready to put my colour on. Okay, so I've finished my line work, I've got my raw image here ready to work on, and I'm going to be adding Copic markers. So Copic markers are an alcohol-based marker, and they work really well because they can actually mix into each other and you can get really cool gradient-like effects. The Let's Draw Live videos are sponsored by Copic Australia, so make sure to check out their stuff, and I highly recommend Copic markers. They are the best I've ever used. So as I go through the piece and add my color, I'm going to mention the colors that I'm using as I go, just so those of you who are interested in using Copics or have a collection of your own just know what I'm using. And I also have to sort of plan how I'm going to go about this. So I actually can't start with Smaug's skin. Smaug. I'm going to start with the lighter colors, these gold colors that are going to fill a majority of the background. The reason is if I do the red first and then go over with a light yellow, it will make the color run into the yellow, and I really don't want to taint the gold piles throughout the image with that red color. So I'm going to do the gold first, and then I'm going to go through, add some of the darks in the very background, and then the last part I'm going to do is go through the dragon's skin. Always remember when you're working with markers to add something underneath your paper so it doesn't run and ruin the surface that you're working on. The colours I'm using for the gold throughout the piece is the Y00 barium yellow as the base colour. Then I'm also using the Y08 acid yellow and the Y17 golden yellow to add the depths and various shadows. For the very background area, I'm going to start off with all of my sea cool greys, beginning with the darkest areas with C6 to C10, and then starting to merge some of the most distant gold piles with the darkness of the background with some of the lower Cs, like C0 to C4. Okay, so it's been a long haul so far, but I've got my background pretty much done. So I'm going to start off by working on the dragon, and then I'll do the details like the Arkenstone, and then I'll come back at the very end and I'll talk about the finishing details that I'll add to the piece. For the skin of the dragon, I'm going to use E04 Lipstick Natural as the base colour, and then my midtones will be an E07 Light Mahogany with my shadows being the R59 Cardinal. I'm going to start mixing in a few other colours to break up the monotony. I'm going back to my Y08 Acid Yellow to work in some of the reflections from the gold pieces, and in the opposite areas I'm going to add a touch of B12 Ice Blue to add some cold to contrast in the opposite area of all the warm highlights. The teeth and claws have been done with a base of E40 Brick White, with the mid-tones being an E43 Dull Ivory and the dark tones being the E57 Light Walnut. With the Arkenstone, I just used kind of a really light bluey green and then started adding different shades of pastel sort of blues, greens and purples, adding a little darkness as I went, and then mixed everything together and softened it all up with a colourless blender. Okay, so we're right up to where we're nearly finished the whole piece. As you can see, it's come quite a long way, but there are a lot of details I need to add. There are 3 individual things I'm going to be doing to really make this piece finished. The first is I'm going to get my Copic multi-liner and I'm going to go over and add a whole bunch of details. For example, lots of little coins all throughout the gold piles. This is a 0.05 multi-liner, so it's very, very, very fine. The next thing I'm going to do is go over the whole piece with the Pentel pocket brush, and I'm going to add some more refined edges around the main areas such as the dragon's outline and a few bits that need some cleaning up. And then the very final thing I'm going to do is going to get my white highlight pen. I'm going to go over lots of areas in the coins in particular, and then some areas where there are other highlights, and then just add little dots of white. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, I have finished my picture of Smaug. Thank you for watching. Make sure to join future streams and Let's Draw Lives by checking out my Twitch channel and subscribing there. At the moment, I'm doing them around 10 a.m.-ish Australia time in Melbourne time on a Tuesday. So if you kind of can do the maths yourself. Otherwise, the final thing I need to do is dedicate this piece, and this piece was requested by Melanie in the chat. There's not much room for a dedication, but I will fit it in. So that's it for now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, I'll see you later.